What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the ultimate guide to the Nightmare Zone for old school RuneScape. In this video, we are going to talk about every single thing you need to know about Nightmare Zone, whether you're there for AFK combat XP or the best points per hour. We're also going to cover your inventory setups, your gear setups, how to set up a dream, and what you need to do while you are inside the Nightmare Zone. So without further ado, let's get this one started. The first thing we're going to cover is what can you do at the Nightmare Zone. If you're a newer player, or if you've never heard of the Nightmare Zone or just don't know what it is, you're going to want to pay attention to this part. So the first thing is combat experience. The Nightmare Zone offers very good combat experience, whether you're looking to do this AFK or you're looking to pay attention and also get great combat XP while getting the most points per hour. The next thing is imbues. Imbuing things throughout the game really benefits things like Slayer as well as general combat. At the Nightmare Zone, you can imbue Slayer helmets and black masks. You can also imbue salve amulets and almost every combat ring, if not every combat ring. These do cost points, and you'll have to accumulate points to imbue these things, with the Slayer helmet being 1.25 million points, costing the most. The next thing is you can also buy rewards with your leftover points if you so choose. The only two things that are actually worth buying with your Nightmare Zone points are herb boxes, which you can get and open them up for grimy herbs, and also redirection scrolls. Redirection scrolls turn normal house teleport tablets into house portal tablets, which will be able to teleport you around to the different house portals such as Relica or Prifdinus if you have that quest unlocked, but you don't have a max or construction cape. So if you're interested in Nightmare Zone, where is it and how do you get there? The Nightmare Zone is located just north of the northern wall in the town of Yanil. It's very easy to get there. You can use the provided clan chats that are provided by the game and use the drop-down menu, scroll down to Nightmare Zone, and then click the teleport option. It will teleport you directly to the Nightmare Zone. But if you've used that teleport to go somewhere else within the last 30 minutes, you'll either have to wait or you can just use a teleport to Yanil and run north of the wall to get there. You'll want to talk to Dominic Onion, which we will get into in a bit. Unfortunately, the Nightmare Zone does cost some money. Each dream you start will cost you a set fee. For this, we want to focus on customizable hard rumbles. These cost 26,000 GP and you'll be able to pick your quest bosses. However, if you do have max quest points with a quest cape, it will decrease by 10,000 GP, costing you only 16,000 per dream. As for the money storage, you can store money in a coffer that is right there at the Nightmare Zone. You don't have to have cash in your inventory. The coffer will hold a maximum of 262,143,000 GP. The Nightmare Zone also comes with its own benefits, which you can buy with points that you earn inside the Nightmare Zone. So if you're new to Nightmare Zone and you don't have any points, you'll need to do a quick starter game to accumulate a few so you can get some of these benefits. The benefits include super ranging, super magic, and overload potions. Each dose of these will keep your stats boosted for 5 minutes without them dropping. And there are also absorption potions, which are incredibly important. Absorption potions, they absorb damage. So while you're in the Nightmare Zone, you won't need any food. You just drink the absorption potion and it will absorb the damage that the quest bosses will deal to you. Next up, let's talk about inside the Nightmare Zone. The first thing we're going to cover is power-ups. There are 4 different power-ups that will spawn while you're in the Nightmare Zone, and they take the form of a floating orb. The first one is going to be Ultimate Force, and this is a white orb. You will always want to use this no matter what is up, except for 2 quest series bosses, and these are going to be from Dream Mentor and Song of the Elves. The Dream Mentor and Song of the Elves bosses give the most points inside of Nightmare Zone, so if you do happen to have an Ultimate Force up, finish off those bosses first and then use it. Using the Ultimate Force whenever it is available will give you a better chance to spawn higher points monsters more frequently. The next one is going to be Recurrent Damage, and this is a red orb. This one actually acts like the Vengeance spell, except you're not actually casting a spell. Every time you make a successful damaging hit, it will rebound some damage from that hit, about 75% of it, for additional damage. Next up is Zapper, and this one is a purple orb. This one does small amounts of damage to nearby quest bosses to help speed up kill times. However, if you do let the Zapper kill something, you will not get the points for it. You have to finish it off yourself. And last is probably going to be the most important one, which is Power Surge, and this is a yellow orb. This yellow orb will refill your special attack bar at a very rapid rate, so having a good special attack weapon is very important while inside Nightmare Zone. We will cover that in just a minute. Next, we'll talk about maximum points. There is a point cap inside the Nightmare Zone for the customizable hard rumble. If you're doing a customizable hard rumble, your points will cap at 1,048,575 points. So if you're in there long enough or short enough, depending on your stats, to hit that max point cap, don't keep fighting. You might as well just leave and start another dream because you will not be able to go over that point cap. So now that you know all about Nightmare Zone, what it does and how it works, let's check out some gear setups. First up, we're going to talk about the Darox gear setup. The full Darox set is the best to use inside Nightmare Zone because of its massive hits with low HP. So for this, you'll want to have a full set of Darox and every other best in slot item that you can afford to use. This can include a Fire or Infernal Cape, an Amulet of Torture or Amulet of Fury, Berserker's Ring, as well as Barrows or Ferocious Gloves, Dragon, or Primordial Boots. If you don't have Darox or you're not willing to use it and you want to be a little more AFK about it, you can just use your typical prayer gear, which would include Initiate or Proselyte or even Monk's Robes if that's all you have. For this, you'll want to take your best weapon and offhand, which can be something like an Abyssal Whip, a Grazi Rapier, or Blade of Saldor, as well as Dragon Defender or an Avernic Defender. You'll also want to fill out the rest of the slots with your best in slot items that you have, such again as the Primordial Boots, Amulet of Torture or Fury, Berserker's Rings, etc. Now for the Nightmare Zone, you can also use ranged, which would also be the same thing. You want to use the best stuff you have for maximum XP per hour. For the way that we are going to be setting up our Nightmare Zone inventory, there are some additional items that you will need. One is going to be the Ice Gloves. The Ice Gloves are needed when Farid and Flambeed spawn in the Nightmare Zone. Your hands will get so hot that you will unequip your weapon, but with the Ice Gloves, you can hold on to that weapon and finish off the kills. Next, you will need a Rock Cake. The Rock Cake is used to lower your hit points. Now for this, you'll want to take your hit points down to 51 HP, which will allow you to overload and only have 1 hit point left. This is for an absorption point method, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And your last item that you'll need is a special attack weapon. There are 3 that you're going to want to choose from: Dragon Claws, a Dragon Dagger, or a Granite Maul with an ornate handle. When using the Power Surge, you'll want to get as many special attacks off for the most damage you possibly can. These are the 3 best weapons to use. As for our inventories, what you'll want to have here is Overloads, Prayer Potions, Absorptions, Anti-Poison or Antidote ++s, Ice Gloves, the Rock Cake, and the special attack weapon. For using the Darox setup, you'll want to have 3 overloads, 10, 11, or 12 prayer potions, and fill the rest of your inventory up with absorption potions, also your Ice Gloves, Rock Cake, and special attack weapon. As for the proselyte or prayer setup, you want to do the same thing, but probably want to take 4 or 5 overloads, as well as 10 to 12 prayer potions, and the rest absorption potions with those additional items we just talked about, just to extend your times. You're not going to see as many points per hour when using the prayer setup as you would with Darox, but it's still well worth doing, and you can easily see over 1,000,000 points per hour. So now we know what the Nightmare Zone is, how it works, your gear setups, additional items you'll need, and inventory setups. Now we have to set up a dream and get in there. The first thing you need to do is talk to Dominic Onion to set up a dream after putting money in your coffer. From the options, you'll want to choose Customizable Hard Rumble. You'll want to make sure every single boss is checked except for Elvarg, Slaglith, Tanglefoot, Glod, Chronozone, Giant Rock, and the Barrel Chest. These quest bosses can actually damage you through your absorption by other means or require a special circumstance to kill. The more bosses inside the dream, the more points each boss will give. After you've selected your bosses, go ahead and start the dream so you can go inside. Once you're inside your dream, we'll have to do a few more things to prepare for the fights. First thing you want to do is right click and guzzle your Rock Cake down to 55 HP or so, and then left click and eat it down to 51. Even if you're not using Darox, you'll still want to do this. If you only have 1 HP in the Nightmare Zone, then the bosses can only hit you for that 1 HP when they register a hit, making your absorption potions last incredibly long. If you have 90 or 99 HP and you're constantly getting hit for 20s and 30s, your absorption potions will not last long at all. Following this, you'll want to drink a dose of your Overload Potion. From 51 HP, it will take you down to 1 HP for the 50 damage it registers. After that, drink 5 full absorption potions, which will cap you at 1000 absorbed damage. This you won't have to do for a while, just keep an eye on it throughout the fights so you can make sure to drink more when you need it. After you're overloaded and your absorption potions are drank, you can go ahead and turn on Piety or whichever combat boosting prayer is needed and wait for the bosses to spawn. So now that you're inside your dream and fighting, I do have a few more tips that will make your experience better and easier. For the lizard men that spawn, you will need to make sure that you drink an antidote plus or some form of anti-poison that you have with you. If you're using the Nightmare Zone to AFK combat XP, just go ahead and drink a dose every 12 minutes. If you're trying to get the best XP and points per hour, it won't be AFK anyways, so just drink a dose whenever one spawns. There are 2 quest bosses that cause auto retaliate to be disabled and they cause you to be immobilized. These are Camille from the Desert Treasure and Caramel from Recipe for Disaster. For these, you want to activate your Protect from Magic so they come closer to you, and you'll need to spam click them to keep attacking them. If no ultimate force is available, you want to prioritize these quest bosses so you can move on to the next one. If you are trying to do this as AFK as possible and you're not worried about maximum points, you will want to disable Recipe for Disaster quest bosses as well as Desert Treasure so you don't have to deal with these. Overall prioritization includes quest bosses from Dream Mentor, which includes the Inadequacy, which is the most points in Nightmare Zone. It gives you something like 75 or 80,000, as well as the quest bosses from Song of the Elves. Make sure to stop whatever you are doing and kill these as soon as you see them. You give the most points and you want to make sure your opportunities for more of these to spawn are as good as they can get. There are also some quest bosses that you'll want to ignore while you're in Nightmare Zone. They're literally only in there for boosting your points per hour. You'll want to ignore Nazastarul, the Dagonoth Mother, Gelatinoth Mother, the Witch's Experiment, and Damus from Desert Treasure. If any of these are up, hopefully an ultimate force spawn so you can get rid of everything and start fresh. And for my last tip, and probably most important for best points in XP per hour for our Darok users, you're going to want to keep your HP at 1 the most you possibly can while inside the Nightmare Zone, and the way that you do this is by turning on and off the Rapid Heal prayer about every minute or so. If you do this right before your HP regenerates from 1 to 2, it will reset the counter and keep you at 1 HP. So again, about every minute or so, go ahead and flick that prayer, reset the counter, and you'll stay at 1 HP as long as possible. So that is going to do it for my Nightmare Zone guide. I hope that this guide has taught you something, or if you didn't know anything at all, I hope you are ready to tackle the Nightmare Zone and get a ton of points. By using this guide, the way it is set up, you can easily see over 1 million points per hour, even around 100 to 105 combat. I personally have capped at about 2.5 million points per hour at max stats, and using the Darok set, I can cap points in a single customizable hard rumble in about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on RNG and what kind of bosses I get for spawns. So if you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up down below. And if you haven't done so yet, tap that subscribe button on your way out. I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy, everybody.